Welcome to a special edition of the Raw Recap, a WWE and Fanatics original production where we step out of Raw and step out of Recap. As a matter of fact, we're here to preview Clash in Paris. And not only am I joined by my co-host Megan Morant, but we also have great friend of the show and one of the top analysts in the game right now.
Oh,
Big E is here to help us break this card down. Big E, welcome to the Clash in Paris Raw Recap Preview Special.
Well done. That was smooth. That was silky smooth coming off the tongue. Nice.
Thank you. I'm a professional broadcaster. I don't know if they told you.
I think you made that up on the spot.
No. It's very well branded, orchestrated. Look, we've been talking about this card and the fact that, it's developed and right under our noses, we're left with 5 matches that every single one of them have mega ramifications. This is a debate that I was having with the callers on the show that I do on Sirius, which is what match main events this show.
Oof.
I think you could make an argument that John Cena versus Logan Paul main events this show. I think you could make an argument that the world title Fatal 4-Way obviously could main event the show. It's the World Heavyweight Championship. I personally think you could also make the argument that Roman Reigns versus Bronson Reed could main event the show. E, do you have any sort of thoughts on what you think could or should main event?
I think those are all very viable options. I think for me, a world championship match. Look, I know the star caliber of Roman Reigns, but we have a world title match with guys who are clear first Hall of Famers in CM Punk and Seth Rollins. But we also have, we have Jey Uso, we have LA Knight. For me, that is the main event and is worthy of the main event. And just seeing the dynamic as well, I think there's so much, it's very juicy from a story perspective as well. You think, one, how many opportunities is LA Knight going to get at the world title? He's someone we have all been a fan of for quite some time. And you kind of I feel like he's butting his head up against that glass ceiling, and you keep waiting for him to break through. And I think having a great performance in Paris can allow him to break through. Also seeing Jey Uso. Is Jey going to be a guy who gets one sniff at a world championship and then is just a big merch mover? Or is he a guy who can be the foundation of the world title picture? Is he someone that can continue to be main event Jey Uso? And then you have CM Punk, again, like we just saw him be world champion for 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes, and that was it. But he's a guy who he seems rejuvenated since coming back to WWE. He seems very focused. He seems to be on a mission. So for me, that is the main event, just with the amount of different stories between all 4 men. But then the larger story as well with, look, I don't want to see 3 guys all be on the same page in a Fatal 4-Way match. But knowing that Paul Heyman's out there, knowing that the owner of the Shula Fala is out there as well, knowing that Braun Breaker, look, this is a match in which there is no disqualification. We're going to say this time and time again, but interference can happen at any moment with no repercussions. So if those 3 don't have some semblance of a plan as to how to dispatch of those other gentlemen, Seth Rollins is going to easily walk away still your world champion. So I think just with all those elements, for me, that should definitely be the main event of Clash in Paris.
I think there are a couple things there, because I'm going to get your opinion on that too. But there are a couple of things that you just said. Number one, I think there's also a story with Seth Rollins, which is, did he really, ever, from WrestleMania onward, it was the expressed goal is to win the World Heavyweight title because the World Heavyweight title has political power that Seth and his faction need in order to feel like they are shaping the future of the industry, which is their expressed goal. Did Seth Rollins really cash in just to hold the championship for one PLE cycle? You know what I mean? Because that's what happens. Like, honestly, like if he loses in Paris, that's a failure. To answer your other question about the elements on the outside of the ring, one would think that Bronson Reed will be there, but if he gets absolutely wrecked by the tribal chief earlier in the evening, maybe Bronson Reed won't be there. Is that for you, Megan?
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Really?
Yeah, when you said, the owner of the Shula Fala, I'm like, is he going to be owning the Shula Fala still after taking on Roman Reigns in Paris? So I think that throws a wrinkle to this as well. You ask what the main event should be.
Mm-hmm. Don't
No, I'm not going to say Becky. I'm not going to say Becky Lynch for the Intercontinental Championship,
you
even
dare.
though that is my dream
I know it is.
main event match. Becky Lynch against Nikki Bella for the Intercontinental Championship. Okay, I'm not going to spend time on the podcast arguing that this should be the main event, but I could, but I'm not going to.
That shows real.
I
That
think-
shows real control and I mean professionalism.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
I'm a journalist, as we've talked about.
Yeah, you are.
To me, I think it should be John Cena and Logan Paul.
Really?
Yeah, because we have been promised this retirement tour by John Cena, and we've been on it. And for the majority of the retirement tour, we've gotten heel John Cena. Now we have babyface good guy John Cena finally back, his last time in Paris against Logan Paul. I think this is a man that, love him or hate him, he has just been outstanding in every PLE match that he's had. I mean, highlight after highlight. And I know it doesn't have the World Heavyweight Championship on the line, but this is John Cena. This is the greatest of all time. And I would love to see him main event a show in Paris. Why not?
And we did too see what this version of John Cena looks like in a main event.
That's right.
And I'll tell you something. That heel version of John Cena,
No good in main events.
I didn't love when he was main eventing shows. I didn't.
Babyface John Cena? Main events?
Great main events.
Pretty good.
Great main events.
Pretty
Great
good.
main event. That one John Cena Randy Orton match, you were like, okay, that was pretty good, right, guys? That was pretty good. Now all of a sudden he has this Cody Rhodes main event, and you're right. And I mean, look, that match does have a little more meat on the bone because, you know, you got Nick Aldis over here going, hey, John, I just talked to Brock Lesnar before, boom, the knockout punch comes, and you're like, what the hell is going on in John Cena's life? But would it hurt you to see Logan Paul get the main event on a show like this?
It's something that I definitely contemplated. But look, the guy has I don't know if earned it is the right way to phrase that. But I think we've seen someone who has definitely surpassed a lot of people's expectations of what he should be and would be in the ring. So the Logan Paul of it all doesn't bother me as much. And I'm with you as well. Look, the John Cena that we saw, that version of John against Cody, I didn't think that was in him anymore. I didn't
Same.
think he physically still had it. I didn't think he was capable of that. But I'm someone like I hold the world championship so highly. And if we're relegating the world title to an opening match to something that's the middle of the card, I don't love that. I don't love that precedent. But look, I mean, to your point, we have a lot of big matches that feel like they could main event this card. And I love that. I love that for the fans in Paris. And the French fans, I think, are really, truly some of the best in the world.
Yeah.
We're going to see at SmackDown that Lyon crowd. I still get chills. And I don't really get FOMO too often in our industry, but I was not there. We did the studio show for the kickoff last year when Lyon got backlash. And I was so envious that I wasn't there because that was incredible. So I think Lyon is going to give us a great taste on Friday for SmackDown. And on Sunday in Paris, I think we're going to get one incredible crowd reaction that crank up the decibel meter, make sure to have that thing out too. That's the great thing is we have a lot of matches that I think you could argue are worthy. But for me, the World Championship should always be the one that closes the show.
And I think it's going to be a fascinating one, too, because I would say in just about all these matches, there are multiple things that could happen. And for me, it's almost like when you say, well, which one should main event? I go, it depends. What's going to happen in these matches? You know what I mean? Like all of a sudden, if X is going to happen, Y is going to happen, Z is going to happen, well, maybe this does become the headline of the show. Maybe this is the scene that you should be leaving this show on. But and I think that's why for this show specifically, with all these variables, it becomes this thing. Like, let's say Seth Rollins retains the championship in the Fatal 4-Way, which I think is a strong possibility. Let's say he does that at the beginning of the night, and then at the end of the night, you know, lightning strikes, and Bronson Reed absolutely decimates Roman Reigns. If Bronson Reed is going to decimate Roman Reigns, maybe that is something to put at the end of the show, just because you're left with a, well, what the hell is going to happen next feeling.
Yeah.
That becomes one of those things to end on. It's just so, like, there's so much. And I also feel like, especially after the ESPN deal got announced, especially with like expectations for what the WrestlePalooza show is going to look like. And then it's right on to Perth. And then we're headed into War Games. Like with all this stuff that's in front of us, I don't think anybody really knows what after Clash in Paris kind of looks like.
And to that point, Sam, that's one of the reasons I would love to see John Cena and Logan Paul, because of the Brock Lesnar element.
Who knows?
We saw Brock Lesnar come out of SummerSlam, and we haven't seen him since.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know.
That's very true. But I will argue in the four-way, we have all these combustible elements. We saw tonight. We saw Jay superkick CM Punk at the end, which, had a lot of people pause. Look, is Paul Heyman and Seth Rollins, is the vision done? Could we potentially see a Jey Uso decide to side with the Vision? Could we see LA Knight do the same? Could we see CM Punk get back with his old friend Paul Heyman? That's what I love as well, is we go into Clash in Paris with all these questions. And look, we have so many guys at the top of the card contending for that. And you see a guy like LA Knight who has been so hot for so long, but like, what is it that he needs to get over the hump? Maybe it is aligning with a Paul Heyman. Maybe that's what really changes his trajectory. So I would also argue that you have so many different combustible elements as well in the Fatal 4-Way match. To me, that's why I'm excited to see how all these pieces move around.
We also haven't seen Roman Reigns have a singles match since, Sam, I don't know, you keep this in your diary every day.
His last televised singles match was January 6th on Netflix. Roman Reigns' last PLE singles match was WrestleMania 40 against Cody Rhodes.
Crazy.
And when was his last one without a title on the line? It might be damn near a decade.
Yeah.
Like, it's been a long time. It's been a very long time.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I think you bring up a good point, right? I think that we can't overstate the combustibility of this Fatal 4-Way match, especially after Raw on Monday and everything that went down, where it felt like we were talking about on the recap show. Like, I was kind of getting a little fed up with LA Knight showing the amount of reverence that he was showing for CM Punk and the respect, going like, look, I get it. We're after the same thing. Just, wrong place, wrong time. Like, I'm like, this is not LA Knight. This is not when you're at your best. Your best is the LA Knight who is selfish, who only cares about himself, whether he's a good guy or a bad guy, the fans are cheering or the fans are booing. And it's very rare that the fans are booing. They're always going to be cheering. It's like you're out there. And I feel like that message had to be delivered loud and clear on that Monday Night Raw show that was the last Raw before Clash in Paris, when you've got LA Knight now getting into it with Punk and being fed up, and not only having that confrontation, which, to your point, E, makes me go, you know what? I'd be into LA Knight versus CM Punk. I'd be into seeing these two elements and these two tell a story together. But at the same time, man, Roman Reigns sitting down with Jey Uso and saying, look, this is about representation. This is about us being at the top and having that gold. This ain't about anything else. This ain't about your friendships. And then he said this. That's just me. That's just my advice. You know what I mean? This wasn't Tribal Chief sending a soldier in. This was just Roman saying this has been his motivation from the beginning of the bloodline. And Jey, something clicking in Jey Uso, where he was like, I'm still here. You guys are welcome to yeet. I'm still here to have a good time. I'm still going to run it back when it's time to run it back. But ultimately, Roman's right. This isn't me and my friends facing Seth Rollins. This is a Fatal 4-Way. And I was the world heavyweight champion. Why shouldn't I be the world heavyweight champion again?
No, absolutely. And it's interesting in that conversation with Roman, thinking about Jey, his mentality is so interesting to me, because we're talking about someone who's been on the main roster, and Roman talked about it. Like, look, you've been around for damn near 20 years, on the main roster for 15 years, been a former world champion. And sometimes I still think he has this, I don't know if it's an insecurity, if he realizes he belongs, but sometimes it seems like he still needs that pep talk to realize, oh yeah, I can still be that guy. Oh yeah, I can go out there and I can beat Gunther. I can be the best in the world. And if we see a Jey Uso who is a little shaky in his confidence, who doesn't think he belongs at all, I don't think Jey Uso walks out as world champion. So that for me was really telling. What mindset going into Paris is Jey going to have? Is he going to realize, like, yeah, I'm that guy and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to be a champion? Or is he a guy who is comfortable being a merch mover, being really popular, and just being kind of, there, but not quite at the very top? So that his mentality going in is something that I'm really intrigued going in. Look, I don't have those concerns with Punk. I think LA Knight realizes very much like it's now or never. But when Jay is really focused, when he's ready, he can be as good as anyone. It's just, do you walk in knowing I am worthy of that title once again?
I thought the John Cena, Logan Paul stuff has been really great. And I was talking about this on my podcast. What I liked about the John Cena, Logan Paul back and forth was that we got the John Cena who we've gotten in the past. We got the John Cena that we saw with Austin Theory. We got the John Cena that we saw with Solo Sikoa, where it's almost like, your dad is talking to you and he's not impressed with you. You know what I mean? And
it's the best.
And it's like, it's a mean John Cena. It's like it's not like we're telling a wrestling story here. It's like Ralph Wiggum and his heart getting broken in slow motion. You know what I mean? Like it's soul crushing John Cena. It's like John Cena who's like, I know we've been having fun, but I'm the smartest person here and I see everything. And here I'm serving to you on a platter the truth. And when he says Logan, like, no, Logan, you're right. You're not an outsider. You're a parasite, and you are here to take and make yourself better for it. You've had 23 matches. I've been here for 23 years. It was like, whew.
Yeah.
Woof.
Yeah, it's that whole, I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed. And I've seen that side of John, but not in the wrestling ring. So, quick backstory, we used to all play Clash of Clans. Yeah, this speaking of Clash of Bears, we used to play Clash of Clans, and Cena was the reason we all got in. And when we would have, our attacks, we would do war backstage, and if you had a bad attack, you would see Cena coming down the hall, and we would walk the other direction, because he would give you that look of, I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed. And when Dad Cena appears, I'm telling you, there is something so soul crushing. It makes you feel like a small child again to think you have let this man down. So yeah, I have seen that face and I've heard that voice.
Did you see the video that was around of John explaining Americanos and the coffee that he likes to get?
I did see this.
Breaking down the latte. He goes I order it this way because if you it should be first of all, this is the wrong cup. And they said, well, we got it from Condé Nast or whatever. And he was like, well, clearly they're a food first, coffee second establishment. I prefer a coffee first establishment. And he proceeds to explain to you in a way where it's like, no. This is not a debate. This is not here's my opinion. I'm going to explain this to you so that you know, and hopefully you'll be better for it. And I don't want to have to tell you this again.
It's hard. It's hard to swallow when you get that side of John Cena. But look, it's so interesting because I think of the promo that John and Logan had just a few months ago when those two were teaming together, and a lot of what he's saying then, it's like, all right, that makes sense. But also hearing the other side of the coin, now that they're not on the same side, now that they're going head to head, and he makes very similar points. But look, I don't think Logan talks a lot about not being an outsider, about being someone who's been around and whatnot. But I think in many ways, Cena is very right about him being a parasite. Unfortunately, in our industry, there are a lot of parasites. In entertainment as a whole, there are a lot of people who just take and take. So it's not Logan's responsibility to give back to the industry, to bring others up, to be a good citizen. That man has done what he's intended to do. He's come in, he's been a disruptor, he's gotten his viral moments. A lot of people would argue that he is not what pro wrestlers should be. He doesn't epitomize what we want out of our performers and our industry, but he's come in. He has, he's been on ESPN. He's gotten his name out there. He's impressed a lot of people. So Cena can feel the way he feels. And I think that goes for a lot of the way the locker room feels about Logan and the way a lot of our fans feel as well. But ultimately, when the bell is rung, it doesn't matter if Logan is a parasite or not. It doesn't matter if he's here to be a robber baron, to just take and then flee when he's milked everything he can, because I think that's who he is.
Yeah.
I think he is someone who's clearly just here for himself. He is not someone like you think of like a Bayley, who is always talking about trying to bring up the rest of the locker room, trying to make sure that our industry is in a great state 10, 15 years from now. Look, if it's up to Logan, I think he's trying to extract as much value as he can, get as many dollars as he can, and if he can leave WWE an empty, soulless husk and the body is quivering on the ground, he will.
Yes, I believe that's right.
Well, someone who does things the right way all the time is the Women's Intercontinental Champion, Becky Lynch. And she will be defending her title against the Hall of Famer Nikki Bella at Clash in Paris. And, you mentioned Bayley, but when I think of people lifting others up, I think of Becky Lynch. I mean, it's hard to argue that she's done anything but greatness in her career in WWE. And I think she continues to do that with this Intercontinental Championship run. How do you look at the match between Becky and Nikki?
I take issue with a lot of things said there.
I don't understand.
Just drove right by. Becky's a dear friend, someone I've known well for quite some time, but let's not act, especially as a journalist. Where is the impartial journalism from you, Megan? A little disappointing here, if I'm being honest.
That is disappointing.
I mean, Sam and I broke this down in the recap show, but just saying that Becky Lynch is the C word? I mean, she's not a coward. She's not a coward.
Right. Just let's be clear about the C word we're
coward.
talking about here.
Coward.
I mean, in no way, shape, or form is she a coward. I told Sam she's probably, the person who's defended the Intercontinental Championship the most since Macho Man Randy Savage. I didn't fact check that. I'm just going to say it.
I mean, you're literally talking to a former Intercontinental Champion.
Yeah, and Becky's defended the title more than Big E did.
I don't think that's right.
I think it is.
I mean, you're doing live events. I don't think that's true. I
think it's right.
Right.
I mean, if you look at days she's held the title and defenses that she's had, I think Becky is more.
Why do you? I mean, you can think all you want. There are literally statistics that break it all down. You go to cage match, whatever you want to go to, it's there.
Right.
E, what do you think of this match?
So I was going to say quickly, this is not the right time to talk about the state of media and the lack of fact-checking, but this is, let's talk about that another time. Huge issue. But what I will say is I'm really excited to see who Nikki Bella is in 2025. And I think she is someone who has excitedly come back. It's really great. I've had time to interact with her doing Fanatics Live, seeing her with fans, seeing her at this stage of life. And her perspective is really interesting, too. This is not the same Nikki Bella I knew, 5-6 years ago. She's grown a lot. She's had a lot of life challenges to deal with, and I think she's stronger for them. And I think this run is really meaningful for her. And I think she wants to not only just go out there and have good performances, I think she wants to go out there and further cement her legacy. I think she wants to demonstrate that she is not just here for a farewell tour where she makes appearances, gets quickly beaten, or is just in the background. I think winning this title would mean a lot to her. And I think going in with that kind of focus is really crucial. But I will say, I think Becky is as sharp as they come. And I think she's at the stage. I love this version of Becky, who I think there are a lot of performers who get better with age. But it's like this realization that you might not be the peak athlete that you were at 25, but you're smarter. You're craftier, you have a bigger bag of tricks to pull from. So she might not have the same burst and explosion. And look, none of us do in our late 30s as we did in our mid 20s, but she's a much smarter, much craftier version of herself. And I think she has all those tricks of the trade. And I think that's why Nikki, I think, is going to have a very hard time beating Becky for this championship is, Nikki has, she's done so many things in her career, and she's out hosting, she's doing TV shows, she's doing all these things. But, you always wonder, where's rust play a factor into this? Is she as sharp as Becky is? And I think Becky's someone who is continuing to add to her toolbox. I think she's just getting craftier, just getting smarter. And I think that will be the difference on Sunday.
And I will say, I do think that Becky is performing at a very, very, very high level and requires the people around her to perform at a very, very, very high level. But I think that very quickly, Nikki Bella is very familiar with that situation and performing at a very, very, very high level. And I think that in really no time flat, Nikki has gone from, okay, let's see where I fit in here, to, oh, no. I'm ready to swim with the sharks and be up here. Because there has been no time, whether it's been, in a promo battle going, word for word, or when physicality was involved, as it was on Monday, that Nikki Bella looks out of step or in the wrong position at all. So I'm with E on this. I'm very much looking forward to it. As E, I know you are looking forward to the good old-fashioned Donnybrook.
Let's talk about it. I thought we should have let the show with that. And speaking of main events, it's interesting that was the one match we didn't talk about as a potential main event, because if I was the commissioner of this thing, look, we would do weigh-ins. There would be packages. Look, we would do an hour of build-up. There'd be packages throughout the show.
By the way, is there anything better than a pro wrestling weigh-in in a sport that has no weight class?
It's so ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
Who was this for?
What difference does it make what they weigh?
It's great. It's great.
I would just like to know, personally, I would love to know. But a whole tail of the tape, I want to know how long their limbs are, all those things. You know, and actually, I would love to be the one who measures as well. A live measuring. But look, first of all, I think Sheamus in Europe is like, you know, we talk about certain people. We talk about Brett when he's in Canada. Mm-hmm. We talk about certain performers in certain regions, in their hometown, whatever it is. I think Sheamus comes alive even more. Look, Sheamus is going to bring it every single night, even if he's in Timbuktu. But especially in Europe, I think he feeds off that energy. I think he's someone who feels like the appreciation of the crowd. And I love so much, I don't think we talk enough about kind of the second chapter of Sheamus. I think of the Sheamus who had 7 years of being a world champion or being in the world title picture, and then a guy who had to kind of reconfigure himself as he fell into the mid-card, as he started winning more tag team titles and was a tag guy. But this version of Sheamus, who I think is still underrated and is still just brings it every single night. He and Rusev, I think, bring the very best out of each other. And I'm so glad they're getting the spotlight. I love that it's a Donnybrook match. I want to say the last Donnybrook or bar brawl that I remember from Sheamus, I remember the Jeff Hardy match during the pandemic. And those guys really brought it, a lot of really creative stuff. But I think Sheamus does such a great job of being creative and brutal in these kinds of matches. And I'm really excited. And on the other hand, when we talk about hard hitters, Rusev is up there with the guys that have hit me the very hardest, and it brought the best out of me. I've had several singles matches with Rusev in my career, and I think this version of Rusev hasn't lost a step. I see a guy who is just as athletic. I think he's focused. I love that we didn't wait for a year, 2 years after Rusev's return to get to this match, because, you know, there is something about two guys who used to be friends who know how to bring it and are going to hit each other harder than they would their enemies. You know, it's that level of familiarity, I think, has really just allowed those guys to flourish in their violence and their brutality. So I'm really excited about this match. I think it's going to truly deliver. If you're looking at a dark horse match to be the one that people are buzzing about afterwards, to be the one that's going to have highlights all over Twitter or Instagram, the one that we're still buzzing about, I think this is it, because I know this match is not going to disappoint.
I think you're right about that, and I think excellent point to bring up about the fact that Sheamus is in Europe, the fact that it's on a PLE, because Sheamus has this very unique ability that I had never really seen before to somehow turn, just utter brutality into something Shakespearean, and you really feel like it's a Shakespearean story that you're seeing play out in front of your face with some of these absolutely brutal matches that he has had in Europe on PLEs. I think this one will be no different. Let's end with Roman Reigns and Bronson Reed, and I'll tell you why I'm very excited about this one. And it's not it's not the shoes. The shoes add to it. The shoes are a part of it. For sure, the shoes are a part of it, and I love that this has happened for Bronson Reed, because I feel like Bronson Reed was like, you knew who Seth was, you knew who Braun Breaker was. It's like, how does Bronson Reed fit in here? And now Bronson Reed has this sort of essential story that is unique to him and has helped shaping who he is and how we take him. But for me, I think that what I'm really looking at here is there's almost something to, in hindsight, everything that Roman Reigns has done since WrestleMania 40 has almost had an exhibition feel to it, in the sense that, like, Roman is back. He's here for a spectacular match. And every single one of them is that sort of attraction. That's what it feels like. when Andre would come in and you'd get the attraction. And you knew that this wasn't going to be one of the key pillar stories that you were seeing up until WrestleMania 3, obviously. But it was just that sort of exhibition attraction that will be cool to see. I think that with the build of this match, specifically with that last Monday Night Raw, and not only the promo that Roman cut about having a lot to do this year and next year, about Roman being on multiple segments of that episode of Monday Night Raw, that we haven't seen that from Roman in years, it feels like. This, for the first time since WrestleMania 40, feels like we're getting that Roman story of what we're finally getting. What is next for Roman Reigns? And maybe you needed that time to breathe after everything the Bloodline was for 3.5 years, and maybe that's what the last year and a half has been. But to me, and maybe I'm putting the cart before the horse, but to me, I truly feel like for the first time we're walking into a match where this is not just, oh, it'll be cool to see Roman and Bronson Reed go at it. Oh, it's great, we're getting a Roman match on a PLE. This is the first chapter in this new phase of Roman Reigns.
Absolutely. And you know, I love that he mentioned, look, hey, this is Jay's time to get this match, but I'm coming for that title as well. Look, I'm really happy for my cousin, but I'm coming. And you still wonder, because you know about all the Hollywood aspirations with Roman, you know, all the things that he has, you know, coming up, and the future for him is very bright outside of the confines of the ring. So you always wonder, with a guy like him, does he have 1 foot out already? And if he has 1 foot out against a guy like Bronson, it's over. So that like kind of almost state of the union for Roman, with him just giving us little pieces of where he's at. And I love that he said, look, big things are coming for me this year and next. I love knowing, look, I'm focused, and I still want a world championship. Look, I'm not on the Cena goodbye farewell tour. I still have big things that I want to accomplish, and I love knowing that. But for me, I also think in many ways, all eyes are on Bronson in this match. Like, I think this is such a massive, massive test to determine that we're going to see, you know, at the end of his career, he's held the world title for 6, 7, 8 times. Is he someone that's going to be mentioned amongst the greats? Is he someone who is going to be considered one of the greatest big men of all time? Is he a future Hall of Famer? Who is this guy? Or, you know, because he can go out there and get steamrolled, and it's like, okay, that was a guy who had some promise, and, you know, he had a little bit of a run, and his flame flickered out real quickly. Or is Bronson going to be a guy that we see at the top of the card, that we see winning world titles for a very long time? So for me, and I think that can still, I think in many ways, I know his focus is on winning, and that's always got to be the focus. And I don't want to talk about moral victories, but I still think he can really turn a lot of heads and impress a lot of people, even in a loss. So I think win, lose, or draw, Bronson Reed has to go out there and put on one incredible performance. He has to go toe-to-toe. The spotlight can't be too big, and it is very easy. When look, Bronson is an established guy. I don't want to call him a younger guy, but in the scheme of things, for a Roman who has been on the main roster for this long, you know, almost 15 years, he is younger in many ways. He is still trying to make his hay and build his legacy to get there. And it is very easy to get washed out, to hear those Roman Reigns, to hear those chants and think, this is not about me. Oh my God, I am overwhelmed. The fans don't care about me. Roman is on fire. It is very easy to think the moment is too big for me. And that's what I'm going to be. Look, you know, in football, they have like all 22. They have the tape where you can see, if you want to, you can lock in. You can just see where the ball is, or you can step out and it's like, all right, I'm watching the cornerback every single play because I want to see how he reacts. So for me, I need a separate, at all times, I need a separate camera, even if he's, you know, on the outside and Roman's doing his thing. I want to see where Bronson's head is at all time. I need an all Bronson Reed camera because I want to see if mentally, when I think he's a great hammer, a guy who is really good when he's leading the charge, when he's dropping tsunami after tsunami. But how do you react when you're the nail? How do you react when you're on the back foot? When Roman's taking it to you, do you see the light in his eyes start to flicker out? Do you see a guy who is ready to pack it in, who is ready to give up, who is like, all right, this isn't my night? Or do we see a guy who is ready to kick out after a spear, who has a second win, a third win? Is he a guy who can dig deep and put on that caliber of match against one of the best to ever do it? So for me, that's what I really want to see. We know who Roman Reigns is, and I love that we have an idea of his trajectory as well and what his goals are in 2025 and 2026. But for me, when I think about the future of our industry, I'm looking at this current crop and the next crop. And I want to see out of Bronson Reed, I want to see a powerhouse who can deliver time and time again and be at the top of the card for the next 10, 15 years. So all eyes for me will be on Bronson.
All eyes for me will be on Paul Heyman. I want that same all 22 camera, but on Paul Heyman, because we heard him say that he loves Roman Reigns, that he misses his tribal chief, and I cannot wait to see how he's going to react in Paris when the tribal thief takes on the tribal chief.
And who knows? Maybe the day will come when Bronson Reed is elevated and he's in Donnybrook matches, and maybe you'll be able to measure his thighs and his arms.
I can't wait.
You'll be able to measure every part of him, and I mean, everybody's dream could come true. Well, we always appreciate you joining us, especially for special shows like this. Of course, you will be there in Paris as part of the countdown show and as part of the post show as well, I hope.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. And Megan, you and I will be here after the PLE to recap it here on the Recap podcast feed.
Not as good of croissants here, but we'll make do.
We got a Costco right by here, so it's just
great.
as good croissants here. Don't even worry about that. I got us hooked up. Make sure you subscribe to the feed across all audio platforms. If you're watching on YouTube, comments, tell all your friends about it. And we will see you after Clash in Paris for the recap. Thanks, everybody.